I'm back. Let's go. Players, coaches, fans, young and old from across the globe, welcome. Welcome back to this week 17 recap show of the Bigs. As always, I'm your host, I'm your commissioner, I am Timmy Westside, and it is always my goddamn honor, better catch up, to be here with you all, recapping the greatest league in the world. She may be tired of hearing me chatter, but you missed me. I missed you. Let's get into it. Week 17. School bell has rung. Kids are throwing their books up in the air. It's done. Week 17 is done. We're on to week summer vacation, which is 18. That's a bad analogy. I'll get better. I'm rusty. First and foremost, shout out stick taps to Rubber Pucky, Ken Dog, and his missus for hosting a tradition like no other. Yes, the Super Bowl shindig, smashing success as always. Just like these videos, it shall live, endure the test of time. Well done, Ken Dog. Week 17. Classes may be out for summer, but a couple of you delinquents are attending summer school. What did we learn this week on our 2-week week 17 week? What did we learn? Well, move over all those other leagues. The NFL, you're done. Still a little bit too cold out. Golf is peaking out. Not your time yet. MLB, you're for the dog days of summer, the real dog days of summer. NBA, we don't really care about that. Enter stage right, the NHL. And with this time of year comes our greatest time of year. Yes, the playoff run continues now. The push for the playoffs. Let's go. That's one thing we learned. I don't know what we learned there, but it's more of a public announcement. We also learned a couple teams are punching their tickets to the postseason. And we finally learn that we have entered the do or die stage for one team. No spoilers. We'll get into it. And let's start with the first team who punched their ticket to the big show under the big rooftop. I'm talking about the Breakfast Club, where they've been all season. 191.1 over the Burt Macklin squad. 169.0. Ticket punched. You know, in the Polar Express there, Tommy Hanks with his magic clicker. Punch ticket, number one. 2-game winning streak, takes care of business over Jacoby. How do you do it? Who was there? It's number one. You may not, know his name. He doesn't pop up here very often, but when he does pop, oh boy, he pops. I'm talking about Do the Dougie Hamilton, 21.8, led the way for the club, followed up by Braden Point, 18.3, and Mr. Captain, the true longest dongus, Connor McDaddy, 15.6, rounds out his top 3 go-getters, getting him the dub, punching tickets. Goaltenders, they went 3-3-1. Average, didn't need to be great, just had to do their job. That's what they did for a total of 30.6 points. The kid is now 11 wins on the season with 6 losses. His offense led the way with 160 points. It was the top in the league this week. He just gets it done. All facets of the game. It's going to be a trend. You're going to see. I'm going to reference it. Jacoby coined it. Much of a lackluster week this week. Laurent-Pierre won 5 out of the first 6 days of this matchup and never let up. Not much to say there. He tickled with 200 points, no homo, but he didn't need it. 191 got the job done for his team, inching closer and closer to that number one bye. The Burt Macklin squad, well, they were on another family vacation this week. No spoilers. We'll get into it. Jacoby had his 2-game winning streak snapped. As I'd mentioned last time, 2 weeks ago, last video, his team has very much been, they score in bunches. He had a lull when I think went 2-5. He had been on a 4-2, 5-2. I think he actually flipped the script, including last week's win. Whatever. Up. Now it's starting to come back down a little bit. 163.2 was the lowest. No, sorry, my mistake. Looking at the wrong brother. 169 was the second lowest point total this week. A little bit of a come down to earth this week, and the proof, as they say, is in the pudding. Brendan Hagel, 14.4 points. Bo Horvat, 13.6, and Josh Morrissey, 13.2. You know what I'm going to say. When your top go-getter is 14.4 points and Larry's third highest go-getter is 15.6, don't look too good for your squad. Never did all week long. You weren't the only one. Goalies. Much like Larry, yours went 3-3 for a total of 28.4 points. Only 6 out of your 22 players eclipsed that 10-point marker. One of those weeks. You're out snowshoeing with the fam, cooking s'mores on the family vacation, the retreat. You now join that crowded midfield, clustered. I feel I've said this for the past 17 weeks, but now it's tighter than ever. 3 teams, 8 and 9. No spoilers. But let's move on. So I will spoil them. Let's move. I know. I didn't need to flip the page, but I do because that's what I do. Moving on to talk about it. The highest score this week. You thought they were dead. 219.6 for Timmy Westside over the other Boutin brother. The comeback kid, not this week, 163.2. Punching tickets. Punching. Vander Holyfield. Mike Tyson. 42-1, Buster Douglas. I'm punching tickets to the big show. I keep pace with Laurent-Pierre. 1 game back. Still a couple of games left to be played. A big one in a couple of weeks, but we got to focus 1 game at a time. 1 day at a time. I now have, going back, Lair has a 5-game lead on Ken Dog. No spoilers. Punched. I've got a 4-game lead. Sumo punch. After a couple gnarly weeks in like the 150s, maybe I hit 161s. This was the perfect week for Timbo. 120, not even 120 points. Is that my max? Maybe. But it will be enough. When push comes to shove, when games matter most, if that's my top that I can get, that'll take me places. It was my perfect week. It's how my team was built. We were designed. The architect in the lab, he said, this is the recipe. Dominating goaltending, supporting offense. What am I talking about? Normally, I start with top 3. Now, when it comes to Timmy Westside, when they're winning, there's one place to go. It's in the blue paint. My goalies, 8-1 for 64.2 points. Talk about it. Not one of my goalies has had less than 14.5 points. Not a big deal. My top 3, Mika Zibanejad, beauty, back on top where he belongs. We're back. 22.2 points, led the way. Jay Ottinger, 17 points. And the pickup from a couple weeks ago, Billy Huso, 16.9 points. He says, Coach, I want to be there. I want a playoff run. Give me a chance. Give me the paint. I say, okay, kid. He's sticking around for another week, that's for sure. They round out my top three. I had the second highest scoring offense in the league, just behind Lair. Underlined it, needed it in a big spot. My team rewarded me for the past couple weeks. Much too often, I'd come on here, I'd be batting cleanup last and just being like, not this week. My team rewarded me. I didn't blow up. If you remember, I could last week, but I said, hey, I won't. My team rewarded me. They respond. No meltdown needed, at least not for this week. When things are clicking, this team's got a chance. They got a puncher's chance with a ticket. Christoph, 163.2 points was, in fact, the lowest point total of the week. Listen, you shared a room with Jake on Brokeback Brother Mountain Resort, cooking s'mores. That's a euphemism. You didn't come to play on the ice. That's all I'm going to say about that. 4-game win streak snapped. You'd come in hot, think you'd roll over this limp dick of a dog team, Timmy Westside. Nuh-uh. Back for now until I melt down next week. No show. You joined that 8 and 9 crowded midfield. Holy smokes, the days are getting numbered, folks. Your top three were Jay Eriksson Ek. He's foreign, so I'm going to go with Jonas Eriksson Ek, 15.4 points. Sid the Kid, 15.2. And Nady MacDog joins his Eastern Canadian brother, rounding out your top three with 13 points. Click. Rewind what I just said about Jake. You followed suit. When your top go-getter is 15.4 points, not good enough. Goalies. They went 3 and 5 for 27.7 points this week. 7 out of your 22 players, your whole team, every single man who walked into that locker room, only 7 of them had 10 points or more. You were backpedaling out of the gates. Think way back when this week started. I came screaming out of the gates, 19.8 points to goose egg. Since then, never recovered. 5 out of 10 days. I wrote that right. 5 out of your 10 days, you had 10 points or less. Hope the retreat was fun. Hope the couples retreat treated you well. Hope you got your massages, had some hot cocoa. Because this kid won't let you go. This kid's ready for a dogfight. Who am I talking about? It's time to go to war because this kid didn't take no break. No, the Borland backhanders put up 202.7 points, taking on the rubber buckies in the basement bowl, 170.5. He's coming for you. There's a 3-way tie. You thought he was dead. This was the biggest win of the week. That's what I wrote. In a big spot. Yeah, my win was cute. It was nice to get back on track. The other 2 guys right behind me lost. Borland backhanders. This was the toilet bowl. Not toilet bowl. That's our big bowl. Smaller bowl. The basement bowl. In a big spot. He could have been dragged down, tied with Kenny. Instead, his team eclipses that 200-point marker, giving him a 2-game lead on KenDog and keeping that midfield all squared up at 8 and 9. What a big statement win. Snaps his 3-game losing streak. And as I mentioned, topped 200 points for the first time since week 12. So it had been a minute. But when games matter most, and they do right now, statement win. He had 4 days where his team had 30 points or more, consistency across the board. And who did it for him? Well, Evander Kane. He don't need no right wrist tendon. He can do it with one hand, putting up 22.7 points. His big boy on the back end. No, I'm not talking about his hog. Andres Vasilevsky, 21 points between the pipe. And Man Rocket Carlson, 18.6 points, rounds out his top three. Nice looking top three. Nice win. Goalies, when called upon, they did their job. They went 5-1 for 49.6 points. That's all I've got on you, big dog. Needed it. In a big spot. You did it. Rubber Puckies, let's get on to you. Last team of the week. I'm not going to harp on you too much because I wrote down, you were the best of the worst this week. Every loser would have lost against every winner. As we said, lackluster week. No juice heading into this weekend, especially headed into Super Bowl Sunday. I could have written this thing 3 days ago. I could have written it last week. The teams that won deserve to win. The teams that lost did not. That's what happens. Justice. I wrote that down. You're now on a 2-game losing streak. And I went on a little bit ahead. There's a lot of ebbs and flows. I started to trickle down into the basement, taking the keys from Christoph. There's always that, I'll be back. Not here for long. I'm just renting. But now is when the games start to matter most. A win is a win, and it doesn't matter if it comes in week 17 or if it comes in week 2. But now is when you're looking at that calendar and thinking, I don't got a lot of runway left, and this big bird better get off there or else I'm going to be squished. The games mean the most now. Magnified. Wrote that down. Your top 3, Artemi Panarin. Actually, this is going to be a good point. Artemi Panarin, 29.2 points. Talk about it. Led the league by 7 points. I think he likes having Mr. Tarasenko on his line. Matty Tkachuk, where he's been for you all season long, 17.4. And Quinn Hughes, 15.6. My point being was this. You look at that top 3, you're thinking, oh, this kid had a nice week. He's probably front with 200. Your secondary scoring is what let you down this week. 13 out of your 22 players had less than 10 points, and you had 8 skaters. 8 players, all 22, with under 5 points. Your big dogs did their job, but you need a supporting cast. I mean, come on. Artemi Panarin's going out there winning Oscars. But there's no sound guy. We can't hear him. That's a better analogy than the one I started the show with. Your goalies went 3-4 for a total of 22.9 points. Whew. That's all I've got for you boys concerning week 17, but we got to talk about it. And every week we got to talk about the next week more and more because there's not too many left. Week 18, Timmy Westside taking on the Borland Backhanders. 2 of the top dogs this week going head to head. Don't love this matchup. Doesn't do either of us any good. You'll see what I mean. We got the Comeback Kid taking on the Burt Macklin squad. Last week, they shared a little cozy bed together in a cabin up north. This week, they're going on the gridiron. They're battling it out. 8 and 9s. Big game. Big. And finally, we got the Breakfast Club taking on the Rubber Puckies. The thing I want to talk to you guys about the most is all our eyes were on the schedule. We kind of whispered about it in different corners on the chat last night. There's a scheduling. Listen, it's going to be a living organism. I'll take it. Being the head of the table, I know I'd mentioned in the past 21-week regular season, and I remember at the time of the draft when we were like, yeah, that's good, boom. I remember it was like, well, that's a little bit tight. It's 5 days or 6 days. Um, our playoff, the championship weekend, will end 6 days or 5 days before the regular season of the NHL ends. It's flirting with the we don't need to start our goalies. We don't need to start our top dogs. But Larry made a good point. I thought we had mentioned that 20 weeks gave us the perfect schedule where we each play each other 5 times. Going back and forth, trying to limbo. I know it's late to make a scheduling change now. Having said that, I mean, even if week 21, there's a 1 game difference between me and Larry, or if one of those other guys creep up, if there's a 1 game difference, I think we're not going to have it go to week 21. I would rather play out the playoffs with our top dogs. We want all our big guys going. Doesn't matter if you're in the championship game or if you're in the toilet pool. I would assume you would want your top guys going. It's going to depend on what happens mainly in the next couple weeks. What's happening in the basement. If KenDog can make a run, if one of those 8 and 9 teams start to stumble, it's going to be tough taking away that game 21. Taken away. I don't even remember because, as I said, I think nothing is set in stone. It's going to be a conversation when the conversation needs to be had. Dream scenario, the top number 1 and the bottom 6 are locked in by the end of week 20, and we could just be like, we're done. Playoffs start tomorrow. It'll be a conversation. I wrote that down. I think in the future, obviously there's those random years with COVID. Hopefully that's gone. Olympics, I don't even know if those guys are going back, or the World Championship, whatever. I'm going on a random tangent. 20 weeks, I think from now on, would be a really nice round number. I like the idea of everyone plays everyone the same amount of times. I kind of like the idea of a team that has been mediocre all year long can go like perfectly 10 and 10. Like that. Put a pin in it. That's all I'm saying. Unless anyone can specifically pinpoint, no, when we were drunk on draft day, I don't remember much, but I do remember we said, meh. Then we'll go with that. I'm rambling. A few weeks left. Every matchup magnified. No lackluster weeks. Let's get it. Boop.